Kathy Toder, Liz Richardson, everybody here. Fiona. Disco, Mr. Minicha, Mr. Corey, and Ms. Fabiano.
Ellen will be late. She's in traffic, but she's coming.
Sorry, forgot about
Sourced up close.
Yeah.
Yeah, from an accident.
Yeah, crazy.
it. Approval of the agenda. Have a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes. Motion for approval of minutes.
Yeah, I looked at it, and I looked okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public participation. Is there anybody on for public participation? No, okay, thank you. Discussion, next steps, facilities update.
Everything's great. Next.
It's been that way for 4 years, they say. You have anything or no? I have a couple things.
Let's just talk real briefly about some of the roof projects and stuff that we're working on. Vogel Wetmore, we did approve the infrared scanning for Vogel Wetmore roof. Same thing that we did at the middle school. What they do is they come in, they do a complete survey of the roof, and they're going to find out any of the wet spots, and it kind of helps us to build a better estimate on the roof to determine where our weak areas are in that roof and what needs to be done. So that's been approved. So that project is kind of moving along to get a solid estimate on that. The middle school roof, I met with Tremco today on the roof, and we talked a lot about the coating system and where the potential failure on that roof is. And what we decided to do there is Mike Boudreau from Tremco is going to have a sheet metal guy get in contact with me, and we're going to make a mock-up of a sheet metal detail where the failure on the roof is. I probably should have been more prepared in this, but real quick, I can show you a picture on my phone. This is the failure part on the roof, right? So that's
John, would you be able to send it to Ally just so she can put it up there?
Put it up on the screen?
People?
Drop it. Good. Thank you, Al. We have the technology.
Yeah.
Texted it to you. Okay. So you're going to see in this picture is where the failure is on the roof, and what we've decided to do is to bring a sheet metal contractor in, and we're going to look at a detail on replacing this sort of rolled over piece of metal where the bars on the roof were broken, causing the holes in the roof for the water to leak down. So we're gonna pick a mock-up space. Let me just stand up and I can tell you. So what you see here, this is actually the corridor. This is the roof that we replaced, okay? And we don't have any issues with that roof. But where our issues are on the metal roof is when they put the metal roof on the building, these ribs came down and they continued straight. And then what they did was they cut the rib right there, and then they rolled this piece down over the fascia to form sort of a 45-degree angle. When they did that, they opened a hole up in the metal right here. And what they decided to do, and you can see it right here, that little white spot, and you can see some of these spots up here, they decided that they would put these caps on and then they would caulk it. Well, the problem is all the caulks failed. And so when the water comes down, it runs this rib down, it hits that spot, it just rolls right into the building, and that's what causes the problem. So what our thought is we're going to pick a place where we have an active leak. We're going to take this piece of metal and we're going to cut it right off at this rib, okay? And make a new flashing detail that comes up underneath here and rolls down without any breaks in it down here to our new drip edge. And then we're going to see how that functions for mitigating the leaks that we have in the building. So we're going to pick an 8 or 10 foot area, do a mock-up, see how it works. If that works, then we'll work with the engineers to come up with, on project development for that roof replacement, how we would replace that. The only place that you see that is on those interior hallways on the lower section of the building. There's none of that issue is on the upper parts of the building, on the top of the gym, on the A and B side, or over by the auditorium. It's only on that lower side, like where the office area is and that. So that's what we're looking at.
Question for you. The roof is 35, but 30 years old?
Yes.
35 years old? I mean, the use, plus it was a crappy roof. But why couldn't we, other than aesthetically, and I'm not sure if it would be nice or not, strip the whole damn thing off and just 35-year asphalt shingles, which will last 35 years. It's plywood.
The roof has plenty of life left in it. With the maintenance program that what we're looking at, okay, with the,
What would be cheaper? Because an asphalt roof is far more reliable in terms of preventing leaks than a metal roof. With a million rivets.
the coating system would be far cheaper than stripping that off and putting an asphalt roof on. Far
What are we
cheaper.
budgeting for?
Right now, we're at 1.5.
There's no way asphalt would be more expensive. How many square feet?
That building's 180,000 square feet. There's
How much roof area?
131,000 square feet of roof on it.
Yeah, it'll be about, even at union scale, $6 a square foot. I'm just throwing it out there because I'm tired of waiting for the city to say,
I
okay.
would personally never advocate to take a metal roof off a building and replace it with asphalt.
Yeah.
Going up, would you have to change the structure underneath?
We wouldn't have
If
to
you
change
put
the
asphalt?
structure underneath, but we don't know what the actual underlayment of the roof is on what they would have to do to put asphalt shingles on.
No, you'd just take a cut and you'd see what's under there, or you find the drawings. I mean, this has been how many years that they're talking about financing these things? If $1.5 million is too much, why don't we look for a way to make it cheaper? So possibly, I mean,
It's not too much, $1.5 million.
listen,
Oh, okay.
they're bitching,
That we
excuse
just
me,
said.
they're complaining that we're spending too much money.
Right, nobody's complaining that we're spending too much.
I'm not gonna get into this.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I went to all the meetings of the Board of Finance and the City Council. They all said it's too much money. That's why we don't have the money to be used for these projects. It's year 4 that I've been on this committee, this board. We still haven't fixed the roof. I'm not blaming anybody, but it's not fixed and it continues to leak. So I'm suggesting, and nobody has to say yes, that we look at an alternative because finding out what the substrate is takes about an hour. So, or look at the drawings. Now, I can talk to Alan Borghese. They did the roof. And then get a quote. O&G now owns Borghese. They can give us a non-union estimate or a union estimate. I'm not sure if it has to be non-union, but if it's ARPA funds, it probably does. But why would we, I mean, how many rivets are there?
Well, there's over 1 million fasteners.
So that's 1 million possibilities for a leak.
Correct. But the,
I'm not saying you have to go
with
there.
the Tremco coating system that we're talking about putting on the roof, that addresses all of those 1 million fasteners. We do have to address that one detail that I just explained. That gives us a 20-year warranty. And the last time that we talked about this in the meeting, you asked me about, because there is a maintenance that has to happen 10 years out. But the maintenance that happens 10 years out is built into the cost of the roof at the time that we do the coating. So there is no out-of-pocket expense 10 years down the road for us. That's all built into the price.
But again, the issue is how many leaks can we support based on keeping the air healthy, and making sure we don't have stained, ceilings. And I'm not opposed to it. All I'm saying is it would be worthwhile to get a price for an asphalt roof, which we've put on schools and we've put on 1 million square foot shopping centers. And they last, and they typically don't leak. If exactly what that detail is, where it meets over the hallways, they run the rubber up, and they run it back, and they install it properly. And especially if you get ice damming in there. But again, I would suggest we do it. I don't know if I have the authority to ask you to do it, but it has been a long time. And I'm not blaming you weren't even here, but we need to get this project started. And if we can save $500,000, if we can, it's worth looking at, in my opinion. So just tired of waiting. It's not your fault. And it's just going on and on and on and on. So that's my thought. Anybody else can fill.
What did you say the life expectancy on a shingle roof is?
Well, it can be up to 35 years. It's just, here's the thing. When you do an asphalt shingle, it's easier to install. If you have the right roofer, then I can get the guys from All Silk or anywhere, they'll bid it. Mr. Roach has been doing it for 35 years. It's easy to install, it's cheaper to install, and you're nailing it in these, pneumatic nailers, but it doesn't have the same problems that you get when you have rivets, because steel tends to expand and contract more than asphalt shingles will. And caulking, for instance, there's a million rivets, there's a million caulk spots, and caulking in year one, when it gets cold, it contracts, and in summertime, it expands. And you're lucky if you get 2 years out of good caulk. If it's caulked right, you get a few years. If it's not caulked right, there's not enough caulk, within 2 years, you've got a little leak, because metal expands and contracts. So doesn't mean it's a better alternative. One architect will tell you it is, another will say it's not, but it's worth looking into, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You said you would recommend it. Why wouldn't you recommend the asphalt?
Metal on a commercial building is a much better roofing system, and it's there. So if you're gonna go to asphalt, you gotta rip all the metal that's there off. There's gonna be an expense to that.
That's my point.
I did Quaker Farms roof. Quaker Farms School was a 90,000 square foot building. And that was all one floor. So you had roughly about 900 square roof. That was $700,000, and that wasn't ripping metal off the roof. So yeah, you might find that it's a little bit cheaper in cost, but at the end of the day, this coating system, they're guaranteeing us 20 years, and it could go beyond the 20 years, with the metal. I mean, the metal on the roof's 30 years. It's a 50-year roof. They're going to give us another 20 years. The state's going to approve that 20 years on the project. They've done this at Nonawag School, and it was successful there.
The state won't approve asphalt shingles?
Oh, no, they would.
Oh, okay. Anyway, my choice is to at least think about getting an alternative, because metal roofs on buildings are not that popular these days because of the problems with the leaks. And Alan Borghese will tell you that, even though he installs millions of square feet. But, again, it doesn't cost us anything to do a comparison. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I'm not a roof expert for sure, but the fasteners, so that 20 years, what happens if we have faulty fasteners during that 20 years? Are they warranted, or would we have to fix those?
The roof is warranted for 20 years against any leaks, regardless of whether it's the fasteners, the metals, whatever we do. It's a 20-year warranty. They're responsible for the roof and no leaks for 20 years.
How about the guy goes up on the roof looking for a leak, and they find out somebody's been on the roof, and they say, which happens every day because I go through it, we're not warranting because you had somebody up on the roof in that area. It's your problem. No warranty covers that. Let's be honest. No warranty covers that. And I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but you're not, in my opinion, looking at other alternatives. You're fixed on steel, which you can look online if you don't have time to talk to a builder, or an OMG or a Borghese. They don't have a better rating than asphalt roofs.
Well, I'll put it this way, then, if as the committee would like, if they want to vote and they want to take a straw poll, or they want to make an opinion on me going to get a price on an asphalt roof, I'm happy to go do that.
I think it's
the only thing is just so you know, because we've done these things before, right? So there's further delays in pushing this project out because we're looking for another alternative. So it's going to further delay some of the things that we're trying to do with getting this roof repaired and going out for referendums and those kinds of things. So,
Are we going up for referendum? You know,
This one we're not,
this one,
right?
not.
The middle school?
On both, it was
Looks like it was
roof projects, and yeah, it was approved by the city council to put that. That's why they had the vote
That was
last
the original
month.
one.
No, that they had the vote in the last one to work on roof projects and to reallocate the funds.
So the money exists right now.
Right.
Correct. Where's the money
That's
coming
not what her last email
from?
has.
It's not the-
That's the referendum statement that they voted on at the last city council.
And they created the building committee of Don Barlow
Yes.
to go ahead and do all the prep work for it.
To get
So they
the
And
estimates.
stuff like that, yeah, all the stuff that needs to get done.
Let me make another copy of that.
And we're
Of
gonna
what
go,
they
we're gonna
voted
get,
Yeah, see now, so Monday's agenda will include a request to establish a building committee for the middle school roof repairs. Because the reserves will be sufficient to cover these costs, the Board of Ed will be in a position to immediately file the grant application, bid specs, and construction. The resolution and referendum question is to seek authorization to repurpose the window funds that were approved in 18. The explanatory text will explain this is not new bonding, just authority to use the funds for a different capital project. In this case, it will be used for the Vogel Wetmore roof.
So the 700 that was from before is still there, and that's what they tell us to go ahead and,
This is where that whole net we're
Yeah.
budgeting is coming in.
yeah, it's crazy.
So what's being used for the middle school roof? What funds are being used for the middle school roof?
So it's a little bit convoluted. So when we budget a capital project, we have to budget the gross amount, not what the state is reimbursing us. So typically what happens is when the state does the reimbursement, that just goes into the general fund. We had the reimbursement, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, from another project that's in the capital reserves
Right.
that they're going to use towards this project.
That's 700 or 500,000.
We have the 500,000.
500.
Right.
That was already passed as referendum for use for, so you don't have to send it back.
For the windows.
Well, correct. The 500 we don't because
That's what I'm-
on the,
correct.
correct, because on the roof that they just completed and worked on, there was 700 allotted, but it only cost the taxpayers 200,000. So we had the 500,000 left. They had already approved that.
So that doesn't have to go to referendum because
Correct,
the voters voted to use that money for the roof.
correct.
And
The
that's-
other funds is what has to go to referendum to ask them to be able to allocate it from windows to roof.
Yes.
No, so this 500 that was already there, that's for middle school. The $700,000 referendum, we purposed 700, that's for Vogel, right?
That's for the window to the Vogel, yes.
Where's the rest of the money? for the
Well, actually, it's for, they combine the roof projects as a whole.
Right,
it's all
and that's what
together.
Fiona's saying,
Right.
because then they're going
Right.
by net, they're not
Right.
going by
Right,
gross.
and if the state doesn't reimburse or reimburse less, then the city's gonna pay for it. That's because they have to put up the whole amount of money up front. So if the state decides, we're gonna give you 50% reimbursement when our rate is usually around 72%, then the city's on the hook for 50%.
So.
And they know
They
this.
should
So
They know
just
this.
making sure that I'm
not-
seeing this
I'm not
the right
buying
way.
into
So
that.
they've rolled them into one project for purposes of allocating funds.
As of tonight, we have no certainty as to where this.
Right, well, hold on.
That's all I
And
can.
they are looking after, if this referendum were to pass, the $1.2 million that would then be available for the project would be the city's estimated net cost to the city of Torrington. And they're not going to budget the total amount. They're going to wait for the state money to come in? Is that what's happening? Is that,
No, they have
They
to.
have
1.2 million ain't enough for.
No, they have
It's
to.
actually 2.8.
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
what we have in the capital plan for both the roofs.
Correct.
No,
So-
they have to say that they're gonna pay the whole thing.
Yeah,
Then the reimbursement comes later. So the city, if the city says they're okay with this, they have to pay for it.
Right,
They
I
have
get
to have the
that
money to
part,
pay
but-
for it.
but so where is the money? So all the money has to exist
Yeah.
before the
It's in-
projects
it's in the-
actually
it's-
happen.
yeah,
So
it's-
where's the rest of it?
In our capital fund.
Okay, so they're combining.
We
the
don't have
cap-
any money.
No,
We don't have any
it's
capital.
Or is
capital
it, well, is
fund.
it their capital fund? Is it their ARPA? Where does it live? Because I'm
Here's a
nervous
simple
that
answer,
it
we don't
doesn't
know.
exist.
We've had the money for the windows. How long?
Right, no, listen,
My
I
point
want
is, that
to
doesn't exist
have
anymore. We didn't
faith
do the
in our
windows in
friends
4
at City
years.
Hall, but I want to know where the money lives.
I want to take care of my kids.
Right.
We
At
have money
this
for the
point, we just
windows that
We
they,
don't know,
that they
but
wouldn't
they're,
release.
they're feeling confident that they do have it.
Okay,
I'm
no,
assuming.
I just,
I'm just
I know, I
saying,
hear
I
you.
think that's why they voted yes as a city council.
right.
I don't know, I can't
So
know
for our
what their thinking
purposes-
is, but I'm assuming.
So for our purposes right now, $500,000 actually exists and is readily available for these projects. 700,000 exists and is out to referendum to be tasked the voter to allocate it to our project. And the remaining balance, as far as, and to my mind, as far as this Board of Education should be concerned, doesn't exist until it exists. And if the city is confident that it exists, I feel kind of okay about that, but I want to see it move, right? Like it needs to move from where it lives and
Well,
become available.
if that were the question, if that were the case, we'd have our windows in it. But we don't have one.
So I'm just, my point is I'm nervous about
It doesn't
making any
allow us.
choices
No.
or
No, they wouldn't
recommendations.
release
The
the money.
windows, no, the
Windows are
No. Prior to that, it was part of the bond.
Right,
The bonding.
that's true.
We never got the money.
We
But
did
you-
have the money.
The
It got put
cost,
off.
but
It
what
got put off. It was-
ended up happening was the cost was beyond
Yeah.
what the,
Right.
What if this
the
cost is
amount
being-
was
my
that was
point is,
bonded, which was
If
seven
this,
hundred
co- this
thousand.
could be the same thing. What we're doing is we're assuming the money's gonna be there. It's not there. And I don't care what anybody says. If that's the case, we should be getting competitive quotes and competitive designs, which should meet the same standards. So if we end up at $1 million instead of $1.5 million, we could go the alternative route. But we all know how it works when we go for money. It's over here, the shell game ends up over here, and the money's not there.
The money for the roof, for Vogel Wetmore is in the 5-year capital plan, so they knew it was coming up.
Yeah.
So that could be what they're thinking
Yes,
is,
it's on,
'cause
it's on the.
So
hook for
here's
next
their
year, right?
actual agenda, their motion.
isn't it next year?
Yes.
It wasn't
Well,
for next year in the
that
capital.
motion-
They had the
plan,
window
yes.
money.
On a motion by Counselor Ruette, seconded by Counselor Oliver, the council voted unanimously to adopt resolution number 143-218, authorizing the filing of grant applications for the Torrington Public Schools roof improvement project, establishing a building committee of one and appointing the Board of Education facilities manager as the building committee, and authorizing the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications. On a second motion by Counselor Ruette, seconded by Counselor Rubino, the council voted unanimously to resolution 143-219, repurposing the 700,000 appropriation and bond authorization previously approved by the voters on November 6, 2018, from the window replacement project at the middle school to roof improvements at Torrington Public Schools, as well as establishing a date for a referendum and other matters pending authorization by the Board of Finance on August 17, 2021. Mayor Carbone further clarified that funding for the TMS window replacements would be covered through ARPA, and she explained the need for roof improvements at the Torrington Public Schools.
Okay, that's all, well, I'm with you, I'm with them, that makes sense to me. It sounds like Armin was saying that it's their intention to put money in for capital for the next fiscal, when these projects would actually be going ahead and checks would be getting written. Is that?
There's no guarantee of that.
Well, that was my next thing is, has that been publicly discussed in any fashion as a part of finance to the council? Like, is there some record of this existing somewhere? 'Cause I trust their intentions if they're not just like being texted among colleagues, you know what I mean? And I think that would be fair for us to say as a group is that, you know, the city has rarely honored its obligations to the Board of Ed's capital improvement plan. And I'm just nervous that John's gonna do all this legwork. We're gonna spend time discussing this as we already are. And ultimately, we're gonna be prepared to encumber funds that don't exist.
Okay,
And the
so,
roof is gonna continue.
so I can clear, because so now there's Board of Finance minutes, which kind of elaborates a little bit more than the city council minutes. So this was on August 17th, 2021, Board of Finance regular meetings. All right. Resolution 143-220, TPS roof improvements. On a motion by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Wright, the board voted unanimously to adopt Resolution 143-220, repurposing the $700,000 appropriation and bond authorizations previously approved by the voters on November 6, 2018, from the window replacement project at middle school to roof improvements at Torrington Public Schools. Mr. Bias requested a clarification regarding the location of the proposed roof improvements and asked whether the city intended to seek authorization from the voters at referendum to bond additional funds. Mayor Carbone explained that the remaining balance of approximately $500,000 in the bonded projects fund would go towards the completion of roof work at the middle school, and the $700,000 appropriation and bond authorization previously approved for the window replacement project would allow the city to move forward with roof improvements at the Vogel Wetmore School. She noted that the city anticipated a 75% reimbursement rate and planned to hold off on bonding additional funds until the final costs were known. Mr. Bushka questioned what the plan was for the window replacement project at the middle school and questioned when the city would receive its ARPA funds. Mayor Carbone explained that the window replacement project would be covered by ARPA funds, and she noted that the Board of Education and the city already received their ARPA distributions.
So it's their intention, based on what the mayor just said in those minutes, to bond the remaining balance. Right, okay, so what do we think, and this might be a question that's not ready to be answered. What do we think that the actual remaining balance? I know we planned for, but what would we be actually asking them to bond? So we have 1.2 million. Let's assume the 700,000 referendum passes. What's the balance of the two projects?
But we don't.
No,
No, that's why we're putting it out for
yeah,
schematic
A rough
design.
thought, like,
Right.
oh, like a million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
a million
yeah.
and a
The
half
cost of
is
each
what
one
we-
of
If
the
we go by
roofs,
the
John.
window
Just
project,
review it again.
we wait 3 years, it'll
Right.
double.
Based on what we currently did, or what we just did up at the middle school, and looking at the square footage at Vogel Wetmore, the rough estimate for the Vogel Wetmore roof replacement is about 1.5 million. And then right now, the rough estimate at the middle school is the original rough estimate came in at 1.2. They really are, they're kind of pushing that up just a little bit because of material increases and stuff like that, and these supply chain disasters that are going on. So, that could be up as high as 1.
So they would have to, based on a rough estimate right now, we're thinking they would have to come up with a $1.8 million of additional monies before the projects could actually start. Okay, all right, a little bit better. And it took a long time, but I think it's worth clarifying a lot of these things.
So are we replacing the Vogel Wetmore roof or repairing?
We're replacing it.
It's only 1.5 to replace it?
The roof is 95. It's a flat bituminous built up roof with river rock on it. It has quite a few leaks that are going on, active leaks in it that we're addressing at every storm, replacing ceiling tiles and making sure that the building remains as dry as possible. But yeah, we brought a couple of roofing contractors in to make some minor repairs to stop as much of that as possible. But yeah, it needs some repairs. And it's beyond its usable.
So to kind of wrap around where I was going, I think, I don't think it actually matters at this stage to go out and try to save some money, because unless we're going to save 800,000, ultimately they're going to have to put whatever the amount is out to referendum anyway. If we were able to get the expected additional contribution under $1 million, I'd say it's worth it because they can make it happen for us by vote of the council. But I wouldn't be desperate to go out and save, a little bit of money if it's ultimately still going to have to be bonded by the city.
I'm gonna tell you, we're not gonna save a little bit of money. We're gonna save more than anybody expects. And I don't under.
Are
let
we
me
gonna
say-
save 800 grand by going with an asphalt roof? I feel like that's probably, the answer's probably no.
Well, we have $1.5 million to spend. It depends on what pricing does. I mean, I do this every day. There is no, I'm gonna use how things have worked out for the board. My job here is to take care of the kids. We've done nothing when it comes to these school improvements. It's 4 years since I've been there to fix the problems. Got the window bond money, we have the roof bond money, and then all of a sudden the window bond money is gone. Somebody took it and put it somewhere else. All right, we got 3 years before this actually happens. All right? A one-man committee by city council just simply means we're gonna try to, I'm not saying anything about you, we're gonna try to get it done as fast as possible, and then it's probably gonna sit. If we have the time, go out and come up with what the 2 or 3 best alternatives are to fix the roof that's always gonna leak if it's metal. Because you won't find a metal roof that doesn't leak if there's 1 million fasteners. And you know that. You know that. I'll get Frank Rubino to swear by it. So all I'm saying is, we don't want leaks. I don't care who does it, but we want the best system, given the current condition out there and the substrate, knowing where prices are, because the lumber's down and steel's up, what the best alternative would be. Because we got all the time in the world, because we ain't gonna get that bond done in 3 months. They took our window money already, and we're 4 years out since they started, and the windows are still rotting. So we got the time, look at the best alternative and compare them. And if the science says one is better than the other, go out and price them both and see if there's an $800,000 difference. Because could there be? I don't know what the threshold is for how much does it cost to build another roof per square foot. You say no. We don't know. I know what square foot costs out for roofs. And I don't know what I know how steep some of these roofs are and how steep some are. But having one thing looked at and $1.5 million job for a roof that's leaked for 30 years is insane. And we're asking for more problems. I said this a long time ago. You'll never fix a metal roof that was installed properly. So, unless you can find projects that have actually seen that happen. But I know you can't find one where it hasn't leaked within a year. Am I wrong? You guarantee, will anybody guarantee within the first couple of years there'll be no leaks from fasteners or caulking? No. We'll say they'll be there to fix it. But if it leaks for 2 weeks, we still got water in the building, and it happens 20 times a year. Find better alternatives if they're out there. Go ahead.
What's the timeline that we have to have the official quotes estimates done to be able to make it for the referendum question?
If they were
Or in general?
If they were gonna put it to referendum for November's
They're
election,
not doing that.
the ballots will get printed about 6 weeks before, so we're already past the time. So we would have to go to referendum either midway through the year next year on a random date where 200 people are gonna vote, or we'd have to wait till November's election next year.
So taxpayers don't have to approve this because we think we already have enough money that's already been bonded to pay for these? Like, is that what I'm understanding? Because like, why does this one not go anywhere? Okay.
Well, they'll have to do an additional
No, they have
bond,
to
it
do
sounds
an
like is
additional
their intent, but, so I think, Gary's not wrong that we have some
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
We should get.
Well, the 700,000 to
That's
be
this
moved
one.
is on this referendum.
Yeah.
Right, and that has to be on the referendum.
To
They
move that
voted
money.
to move that.
Right, but whatever the additional cost is, when the estimates and planning is done, you'll have to go out to bond again.
Or we take it off our plates and just put it in the city's plate. Because
Well,
We
it is,
spent
there's
4
already a
years.
building committee here. We could just take it off our plates and leave it up to the building committee.
we're not gonna have any say after that anyway. We're gonna sit here every month. We're gonna say, okay, windows, roof, windows, roof. Which we've done for 4 years.
I'm just not sure what happens if the 700,000 transfer doesn't pass that referendum.
That's the biggest question, because the windows
It's
are
confusing
already in
to people.
ARPA, so that's already done, because that was much more than the bond. And so,
We shouldn't be using our fancy windows, that's it.
There may be some mechanism for cities to reclaim unused bond funds, but that's not our responsibility. I think our hope is just that it passes. Right, the city and its corporation council would have to figure out how to get their money back if the referendum failed. They wouldn't be using it.
Well, they've never bonded that money
They
out
never
yet.
issued
It
it.
was
Oh,
just,
they
they
issued
never
it.
issued the bond, it was just
They're
approved.
non-issued.
Then they would just sit on the balance sheet unissued for the rest of the time.
I'd rather take it off our plate because we're gonna be to blame moving forward. When this doesn't happen on time, when the money's taken away, when it's moved over somewhere else, or it's over budget, let them take it over. Why are we wasting time on this? We have no say anyway.
Because you want an asphalt roof. Yeah, that's why we're talking about it.
No, no,
right
no,
now.
that's not true. It's still gonna be on our plate. I wanna get it off. If we have no say, then we're gonna look at one system, take it off our plates.
And
Let
I-
the city be responsible. Why are we even involved?
I mean, I feel kind of that we've been given the authorization to move forward with getting the quotes, the schematic designs, the actual costs.
Get everything going.
And
Are we
then
doing it or they're doing it? The committee was
They-
setting.
No, we're
they
doing
made
it. They
John
assigned
building
It was
John.
John.
John Barlow is the building.
Building
committee.
He was designated.
He was
The building
designated.
committee derives its authority from the city.
City.
I'd rather the city take it, but, I mean, I'll let that go after this.
They designated John,
They
so.
designated.
Of course they did, you know why? Because we're gonna be to blame. But it doesn't happen. Don't say it doesn't happen, it's not gonna happen, it doesn't happen.
No, I'm saying, well, they're school buildings, that's why they designated John.
I think we should just
John's our facility
focus on
director.
how we can make it
You're,
happen.
you're missing the whole point.
Because we have
I don't wanna
to
make this political, let's just leave it.
I'm
there.
not, I'm just saying they designated John because he's our guy, okay?
I think the real
Doesn't sound good.
focus of this is really, do we want to get a quote for an asphalt roof
I think
and
that's
look
the
at two
question.
quotes, or do we want to just proceed with the fastener?
Who do we give the quotes to?
Well, then we'd have to have hopefully a joint meeting with the city to talk about the
Right,
quotes.
and I'm sure the building committee will continue to
Keep us-
report
keep us
to us
updated.
and ask us for.
And I
some
say
of our
it's
input.
better, and maybe it'll happen faster if we put it in their lap and say it's your responsibility.
Is it a lot of legwork for you to look over what it would cost to get an asphalt roof?
No, I don't care.
Hold on. Yes,
No? Okay, can we resolve this discussion by just saying, okay, let's look at an asphalt roof in addition? Is that,
It
we, is
closed.
that okay with the group? Can we just resolve this discussion?
Yep.
Well, I'll let it go.
And we're giving you what you want.
No,
that's fine.
I just want you to know.
I thought the city was gonna take care of it. Again, we get no benefit out of this process as a board of ed, other than for everybody to look at us and say, why is it still leaking? Get the roof. We haven't gotten anything. If we don't get the roof, who's gonna get the blame?
Not us, because we're going to provide all the information of what needs to be done on that roof.
And I think we're in a place where like, I'm less worried about who's gonna get yelled at a lot if it doesn't happen. And I think we're still in a position where we can do what we can do to try and make it happen. And that's, I think, the best thing.
My point is, if it's in their lap, the pressure's on them. There's no pressure on them right now. It's on us. We put it in their laps, it's up to the city to take care of their own damn building and get it done. It's not our building. We don't own it.
Sure.
We go begging hand in hand.
It's just
for a
not gonna
building that's
I
been
think we
leaking for 30
resolved
years.
this one. We move to the next
Yeah.
agenda item.
I'll decide the next agenda item. Okay, unless you want to take over, maybe Jim.
That's fine. I'll
I'm
take over if
not
you
running
want.
for anything right now. I'm talking about the kids. Let's leave it at that. right?
I am
Pissing me
too.
off.
I want a roof. I want two new
We've
roofs.
said that for a long time. We don't have it yet. How many years we gotta wait? We're gonna wait 7 more years? I'm pushing for a roof, and we're all, and you're pushing against. So
I'm not
let's go.
pushing against
Yes,
it.
you are. Anyway, next thing. Anything else for facilities? If you're the building committee, I wanna see every single aspect of this process. Right? As a facilities manager, as a facilities director, whatever you call me.
The only
Committee
other item that I have is I do have a meeting tomorrow with Castle Booze on the window project. We are looking to go out to bid in November on the window project at the middle school. And the reason why we chose November is because, again, of the supply chains and those issues. We don't want to be up against June and have them say, hey, look, we don't expect windows to come in until the end of August, because that project will happen next.
Let me say about Castle Booze, they better make sure it's right this time. Because we have problems with the building committee with their bed specs. That's gonna cost us one. They better make sure they cross their Ts and dot their Is. Because we haven't had luck. The last round cost us some cash. So. You know, I sound like I'm mad, but I'm tired of these kids living with schools that don't even function as schools. I'm tired of being looked at, they're looked at as slumlords. I know somebody else said that once, but that's what we are, we're slumlords. Truck purchase update.
I went around to the other dealerships as was requested, and the closest quote to what we got was 50 to 72,000. So we went with Tasker Ford, and we put in a purchase order. The truck is on order and will be here as soon as possible.
You said 50 to 75. Did they have a particular spec that they're proposing? No.
It was the comparable Chevy. I checked the dealerships around here and one of them was 72. A used one was 50.
Yeah, I just bought a used one for 55, so.
So we're getting a brand new F-250 for 36 on the state contract
We got the 20.
with the plowing package.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
FOIA update.
Well, hold on one second. So when will we get, how long out is it for delivery?
That
Well,
is
I know that, I'm not holding you to it, I know that it's, but did they like say 6
crystal
months,
ball.
3 months?
It should be next year, hopefully March-ish, maybe later, depending on the chips. Everything is dependent on the chips. I know that there are quite a few manufacturers that have shut down for 2 weeks because they have no chips to put in the cars.
Right.
So I was just not looking for trucks. I mean, that's for last my company. That's had quite a few Ford 250s on the lot. They have nothing on the lot that John thinks fits the spec.
They sold the ones that they had available.
Really?
Because they do have some on the lot still, because I live
They're
right near
small-
there.
They're smaller trucks. too.
They are
They're
smaller. They don't fit the needs of the
Right.
department.
Yeah, they need that. They need the right truck. John, are you gonna ask that we get extra sealer on the bottom of that trucks because of all this? We use the liquid salt still?
Yeah, what we're gonna do is start a program, when the new truck comes in, we'll start a program of putting the,
Wash the undercarriages
yeah,
weekly.
there's a product that mitigates the salt buildup underneath the truck, so it has to go in and get coated once a year for it, so we're gonna start doing that because it's unfortunate, but out of the 3 trucks that we have, the high school one being probably the one that's in the best condition, they all have, under 50,000 miles on them, but they have major rot
Body
issues.
rot, yeah.
Major.
And those are the ones you can find on the lot for 25,000, just so you know. 'Cause I didn't know. Go ahead, John.
Just a question, the 250 is built on a frame rather than unibody, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Just 2 other questions, I'm sorry. So will we be okay, because we won't get this till after winter? Do we need to make any accommodations for that person in the vehicle in the interim, or
So,
I just don't want,
yeah, so the red truck is basically become a yard truck up at the middle school. It's not gonna leave the property because it's just not roadworthy, but they need to use it for some minor plowing or something up there, they can. Most of the plowing is done by our contractor, but sometimes they're not always there, they need to push something back or whatever. Chris is driving another Ford F-250, which is, it's in tough shape, it's struggling. It's, unfortunately, it was a truck that was traded to us by the city, and it really wasn't the best truck when we got it. But we're gonna keep that one going as long as we can until the new one comes in, and obviously the one at the high school is in decent shape, but I don't want to put it in Chris's hands as of yet. Let's just keep running this forward until we see what we need.
Is it safe?
Yeah.
FOIA project update.
I did get a telephone call from Castle Blues the other day. Due to their workload and what they have going on, they have asked to bow out of the FOIA project, that they wouldn't be able to put their all into the project development for the FOIA. I thank them for being honest and upfront with me on that, not dragging us along. I turned around and contacted Joe Alicata. Joe's going to come and meet me next week, look at the project, and come up with an estimate on what it would cost for him to do the development on the project. I don't expect it to be a big delay. Castle was kind enough to share what work they did, not much, and we're not being charged for it, but what work they did on the project with me, so I can share it too.
So who is the next bidder? Wouldn't we have to send it down to the next bidder?
We don't even have a project developed. We have nothing, we're not bidding anything right now. We're looking for prices from an architectural firm in order to develop a project that we can bid.
But doesn't the architectural service go out to bid?
What's the value? I think
We
it
don't
doesn't
even
raise the
know, we
value.
don't even know what the value is at this point. We were never given a value by Castle Foods, and I don't know, I don't have a value from Joe. So depending on what the value is, if it's under the 10,000, we wouldn't have to go out to bid.
You expect it to be under 10,000?
I do. It's not a big project.
I didn't think so either, but I.
No, it's not a big project. I mean, some of the preliminary work that I did on it, put the prospective project coming in at around $100,000. I mean, if an architect takes, he's not gonna take 10% of the project. So, you know, I don't expect his cost to be above the 10 grand mark. So.
But his price should include all consultants, so he's gonna have to have some consultants, I would think.
Correct.
Technology update?
Technology. That's always a fun one. So if you ever wonder what I do in my spare time, I look at pretty pictures of graphs. So this is a graph of our network traffic 1 year ago to the day. And you can see, you know, students coming in the morning around 8 a.m., you see a spike. But if you look throughout kind of the entire day of where we are, we see, if we draw a flat line, we're just about 200 megs per second. Let me show you what this morning looked like. We go up to almost a gig, and we are sustaining easily 300 megs per second. So we're up 30% in just a year.
What does that mean? 30% of ability
Of-
capacity?
Of 30% increase in sustained network traffic. So that's the sustained traffic that we go in and out of the internet. That's actually going out to the internet. So with that, I'm always thinking,
Everybody asking?
you know, if this keeps climbing at that rate, and it's climbing rather quickly, we want to make sure that we can sustain these things and any sort of increase even before the new building is built. So every time E-rate comes around, we really sit down with some other engineers and think, what is it that we need to do? So we're in the middle of an E-rate project, which we planned out, and I'm excited because I'm meeting with an engineer tomorrow. And we'll be planning our new wide area network, which we already have procured all the equipment, but never really thinking about the logical network and how things are going to be. So our capacity at the moment, once we implement this network by the end of October, will be 10 times from what you saw on this screen. So that should get us for the next 4 years until we have the new building and all new switching. So very excited, and it's going to also give us real-time analysis. We're also going to be looking into the phone systems down the road. You know, sometimes when it rains a little bit, we have some phone issues, and our phone traffic will also start going the route over this network. Going to be, you know, once it's up and running in November, you'll be seeing some really pretty graphs in real time. So, what else we have? Device distribution. Yeah, it's kind of nice. I have this thing where the day before the first day of school, I walk the hallways, everything is so shiny. You know, the lights, you can really, you know, it's just beautiful. And then my team went through all the classrooms, put in all the devices, ready for the first day of school. And we have this massive influx of new students for the next couple of days. So we're working on it. We're making some last minute shuffles, but my team has been wonderful and on top of it. And we had some help today. Amanda was wonderful. And
having my team, but we'll be ready with, having both with all the new students by tomorrow. So we'll be good to go for that.
That's good.
And
So, can I ask you one question? So all the students have their devices, including the new kids, or by tomorrow they will?
But tomorrow we'll have all the new kids finished.
Max?
And then, no, just regular computers. And
They're
then what
coming.
I
about
know that, that's why I asked.
our staff, certified and non-certified?
That should have, certified already has their devices. I think there may be a couple of pairs that we have to just get some numbers from the building, just double check and see who's missing some devices. But everybody should have theirs tomorrow as well.
So everyone will have them by tomorrow. We have enough.
One caveat, kindergarten and first grade, waiting on the iPads. They are on order, and again, we have that microchip issue. So I don't have an ETA for that just yet, unfortunately.
For the increased enrollment, did we just have extra computers around to kind of, be able to supply them with a one-to-one? Did you have to purchase more? Just
We had a purchase out of the E-rate funds, the emergency connectivity fund. So there was 160 Chromebooks that were funded through that, and the iPads are funded through that as well. So having that shift away from kindergarten and first grade, and we still had a couple of screens that we swapped from some broken devices. We're able to make up for it, actually. And everything is now in inventory, which is a beautiful thing. Kind of click my way through it with the scanner, and everything is in there, including power supplies. And so as part of that, there was this really interesting thing that we have for student accounts. Student accounts, when I started here 2 years ago, had a different email address. The different email address for kids K-5. Actually, we didn't even have, it started in like February, we didn't even have emails for young kids back then. And then when it came to sixth grade, that all shifted to a very different scheme. So that became really, really confusing. So we implemented a system to automatically onboard and offboard students and staff. Students out of private school. So every night, 6 p.m., it runs a report and looks at the enrollments. Do we have any new enrollments? Do we have any transfer outs, or even between schools? It looks at everything, and it automatically adjusts the email groups. It deactivates it activates accounts, and it sends out a nightly email with these changes. And that email goes to my department, and it goes to the buildings too, so they know. There's one more tweak we need to make to include the email address, but Sarah Coolidge was kind enough to put all the email addresses in our school. So all the teachers will be able to look up and see, right then and there what the student email address is. So now everything is the same. There was some confusion in the past because with that whole 5th grade and 6th grade, all of a sudden some students had two email addresses. So we got some interesting feedback saying, one of my email addresses doesn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, you're only supposed to have one. So now it's all contained. And we made sure that no data was lost. We transferred everything from one to the other and have everything in one clean place. It automatically assigns the Google licenses. It's a beautiful system. It's pretty. And we're doing the same thing with staff. The staff should be completed by Friday. So the moment we have a new hire, they automatically get an email that gets sent to HR with their name, their email address, a temporary password, which is going to ask them to change it. So that automatically gets sent to them. And then if there's a transfer, let's say we have a parent who assigned to the high school, moves to the middle school, it automatically, the moment HR makes the change, next day it updates the distribution groups, everything. Really, really nice. And it's a best practice really for
accounting standpoints, where the moment somebody really leaves the district, within 24 hours, those accounts get shut down, that and students. So that's something I've been trying to get to work for the past year, and we're finally there. I'm very happy. It is. There's a lot of cleanup. I think I had to go through over 10,000 student accounts. But it's definitely worth it. It's nice and clean now. That's all. To be continued.
Sandy's got a question here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sandy. Go ahead.
I just have a couple of questions for Ally. In terms of the K-1 iPads, the questions that have come up in our buildings, are the staff, the teachers of those grade levels going to receive iPads also?
Yes.
Okay, and is there going to be training for the staff? On
And I'll be the one doing that training because I'm gonna have some fun with it.
Glad to hear it's going to be fun. So that, and I heard you say we don't have an ETA on those.
Not just yet. I will let the principals know as soon as I get an update from Apple.
Okay,
But
okay.
the other thing is, we're also looking into an entire plan on what kind of educational apps, or what makes sense to establish for each grade level a boilerplate of applications that our kids can use, and we'll be able to push down, get those apps vetted, and get them pushed down very quickly. It's really
Okay, good.
it'll be
My
really
kindergartners would like to know if there are going to be fun games on those iPads.
well,
That's the request, fun
I
games,
can
Ally.
answer that question, and those games will be at your discretion. Because you, as the teacher, you can say, okay, it's playtime, and you may play those games, but you and your teacher iPad, you can say, okay, enough playtime, back to work.
Yeah, back to work. Thank you. And did I hear you correctly say the paras would all have computers tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I know some were,
There were some that don't, and I've reached out to all the principals to make sure we get an accurate list of who we still need some.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ally.
Yes.
Got me thinking with the training for the iPads, are we gonna have, I'm sure your answer is going to be yes, but training on the Macs for the high school students? Because I would imagine that's
absolutely.
probably a huge learning
So with the
curve.
Macs, that gets even cooler, because Apple will actually come in at no expense to the district and provide us with not just training, but also lesson planning and some really some amazing ideas. So we'll plan that with the Office of Teaching and Learning and see if we can work that into some PE days, depending on the calendar. But
I just want to
absolutely.
let you know, I heard Ally's pulse rate jump up like several things. we should start talking about.
And teachers will get training on the Macs.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I mean with the teachers, the lesson planning and all these things.
Yeah.
Because there's some really amazing stuff.
Anybody else? Topics for future meetings.
Trying to move things along.
I know, well, roof alternatives, but John, I'd like to get a presentation on Tremco product because it's a sealant. It's not a roof replacement. It's just it's a liquid sealant, which.
I can arrange that.
Yeah. Windows. TMS, well, we got TMS FOIA update with the architect.
I think it may be a good idea, maybe not next month, but the following month. Not just us, but every town, it's been blowing up the listserv of the number of people that are driving their kids to school and just traffic. And I think that a lot of schools have been doing a lot of work, and you guys to try to manage all of that. So maybe just enough, some
They're
kind
keeping the
of,
kids off the buses.
yeah.
Yeah, they want it because we had an issue where a whole bus had to be quarantined, elementary bus, because one student, and then they couldn't do contact tracing, so the whole bus was quarantined. So we have tons of people driving kids to school in our district, so it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's their fear, is the bus gets Someone on a bus gets, the whole bus gets quarantined.
Yeah.
They don't want it.
There's even like a flow of traffic safety
Yeah.
concern, you know, around, especially around Torrington.
It's terrible,
That pickup is like
That goes
insane.
down Charles
but
Street.
I guess it's the same by Vogel.
I would
My
Yeah.
imagine.
husband was
Right.
down
The
by
cave
Vogel today
freeze.
and said it was really as bad as it is at Torrington, which we happen to go by every day or twice a week.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a tremendous amount we can do. I think everybody's
Right.
trying to figure out how to
Right.
move them the fastest, but I think it's just, you know, not, I know we don't know the exact, but like statistically, like, so that people understand
Yeah.
that there's just a large influx of people driving their kids and.
Well, and where
numbers
should
are
the
huge.
lines go? Like, I think maybe
Yeah.
some parent communication, because I know even at Torringford, there's people that are waiting. I mean, I don't know that street, but,
Charles Street.
So-
well, no, that's where you normally wait is on Charles Street, but on the
Winthrop,
other,
High School Hill.
people are waiting there and you really can't see. So cars are going around the ones on Charles Street, but then going around, you know, I don't, you know, and some people just don't know the unspoken
Yeah.
rules, I guess, of it. I
It
don't
is
know.
getting better
Yeah.
each day. It's faster and faster. Remember, right, they're kinder and so they're learning and, you know, so, and firsties really weren't in school a lot last year, although for some of them were remote, so, so we're adjusting and we're meeting with those principals to talk about their process and procedure. But certainly we can get more communication out, and we had the traffic police and some designated officers in those areas, especially the last week, so we need them again, we'll call them again.
Well, and that's what I think. I think
Yeah.
people just need to understand that this is being worked on a daily basis.
Right.
It's not that people aren't aware
Yeah.
that this is a problem. It's
Yeah.
clearly a
Right.
problem.
They are shaving minutes off every
And
day.
it's getting
though.
better.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Much better. I
It
mean,
is, yeah.
they-
Yeah, and
Last
we
week
this
was
happens
crazy.
every year,
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
It just takes a while to get into that rhythm, but they took another 10 minutes off at Torrington
Right.
today. You know.
We did.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out, yep.
We were done before 4 o'clock today. That's progress.
We're
Yes,
down at
very good.
3:51 today.
Yes, so that's huge progress for us.
Yeah.
And I did have a parent today who I thought brought up an interesting point of, you know, she thinks part of the frustration too is because so many kids were remote last year,
Right,
that people are forgetting
Oh.
that this was kind of what was normal before COVID.
Right.
And
Now everybody's
because we haven't
back.
had, everybody's back and more people are driving, but it's just
Yes.
also full capacity school, which we
Right.
haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So-
communication might be good.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah, just to remind them.
remind people. Yeah. So I just think
Yeah.
just
Oh,
so
they have a
people
process.
understand
Yeah.
that we're looking at.
Comments for go to the order.
I just want to say, I saw John's gorgeous floor at the middle school. And aside from the part of the gym where they're eating and using like a cafeteria, I'm sure it'll hold up very well.
Thank you, they did a great job.
Yes.
Ellen?
Just thanks for all the work that went into getting the school year started last week, so.
Many thanks, John and Ally. Great reports, very exciting.
Sandy?
I'm all set, thank you.
Sam?
All set, thank you.
Ally?
I'm good, thank you.
John? Coder?
I'm good.
Richardson? Jeff and Bianca.
So I just want to thank John, all the custodians for all the work. I think the schools look great. So that doesn't happen naturally. So thank all of you guys. Plus all the secretaries and personnel in the schools that had to deal with that very large influx of students. That was a lot of work. And all the teachers paras for just continuing to keep on going, and central office for all the craziness. Appreciated.
So ditto to that. Motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor?